Welcome to LMP Talks Wrestling. It's March 10th of recording, and we're officially on the road to Wrestlemania. Apologies about not getting on an episode out last week, but that's life. But I believe we're back on track. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to tune in. We sit down for about 45 minutes or so and chat all sorts of wrestling, whether it's New Japan, NXT, WWE, AEW, or any other wrestling promotions out there that you want to teach me about, educate me about, and get me to watch. I'm all ears. Which brings me to my next guest. He's a returning guest from episode 27, and I'm excited to chat wrestling with him once again. So without further ado, please help me welcome Kieran. How's it going today?
Hi, thanks. It's going well, thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. How has everything been since last time we chatted in the wrestling universe?
Yeah, not too bad. I haven't been watching an amazing amount. Been keeping up to date with most of it. Haven't watched too much NXT as of recently. Caught all up on Elimination Chamber and everything though, which I thought was a really good pay-per-view.
Yeah, it wasn't bad with the little hype that it had in it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much from it. I mean, obviously we knew Kofi was always going to be great in the Elimination Chamber, but apart from that, I wasn't expecting too much. But I was quite impressed with it.
Since we're on the subject of the Elimination Chamber, out of the two chamber matches, which one did you enjoy more?
As much as I did love Baszler just running through everyone, I think the tag team elimination chamber had a little bit more excitement to it.
I agree.
More of the spot fest that you expect and wanted, which was nice to have the break with the change on the Baszler match rather than having two matches quite similar.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that the Lucha House Party got as much of action inside the chamber as they did.
Yeah, normally they're quite buried. I mean, that spot where he did is it like a shooting star press from the top of the cage?
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. And the fact that Lucha House Party is continually underused, because we've both seen them go. We've seen Kalisto go. We've seen, who's it? Dorado?
Dorado, yeah.
Yeah, and Grand Metalik, isn't it? Those are the three of them.
Yeah, they're the three, sorry, yeah. I think was it Lindsay and Metalik that were in the match?
I believe so. I think so. Apologies if Kalisto was in the match and I'm forgetting. But I mean, a lot of people out there don't know or remember that Kalisto is a former United States champion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was quite a while ago now. As you say, they've all been buried for a long time now. And I think sometimes you forget how great they can actually be.
Yeah, like they were just randomly added to that chamber match, but after seeing them in action again and being used properly, I want them to go like face the Usos or face the New Day or just face somebody for tag titles. Get in there because they bring a different atmosphere to the tag division, and I think they're severely underused.
Oh, well, of course they're severely underused, but unfortunately Vince will always see them as jobbers.
Yeah, that is the sad truth right now, unfortunately. You were telling me before the podcast started that you were catching up on Raw this morning?
Well, I caught up on Ups and Downs.
Yes, yeah. I was watching Ups and Downs earlier, and shout out to Simon Miller 316 on YouTube. Definitely go check him out on Wall Culture as well.
Oh, definitely check him out. Gotta love the bald arsehole.
Absolutely. Gotta love the bald asshole. I love it. I'm sure he loves it too. The fact that he does Ups and Downs for SmackDown, all the pay-per-views for the most part, and like other it cracks me up. I mean, I know that we're just talking wrestling and Raw and everything like that, but watching that Ups and Downs, he really gets it.
He does. He really understands the business.
Yeah, and the fact that too, his video got retweeted so much, especially from Cody with the Sean Spears.
Oh yes, of course. And the Nyla
partner.
Rose wearing the Simon Give Me an Up t-shirt.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's brilliant, man. But I mean, speaking of Ups and Downs and Raw last night, I know you didn't see the show, but what do you think of the few feuds that are heading into Mania now? We have Edge and Orton, we have Rhea and Charlotte. Tell me, man, what do you think?
I think there's some very interesting stuff going on. I mean, obviously, Brock and Drew will be a great match. We know that's just going to be a great slugfest, and hopefully Drew will be crowned the new champion. I think that's what everyone wants, and if WWE don't pull the trigger on it now, I think they'll be stupid.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree as well.
But I think the match everyone's looking forward to the most, and me especially, is the Edge versus Orton match. I think the build up to this has been amazing. It's the exact way to build a feud.
I agree. The fact that Edge has come back after such an injury and was pretty much retired.
Well, I don't think anyone truly believed he was going to come back. I mean, there was all the rumours before the Rumble that he was in the area and he'd been cleared and he was going to come back. And as much as I wanted to believe it, deep down I knew it probably would never come true. And then obviously it happened.
Yeah, I mean, Edge was one of those heels that back in the day that drove me absolutely nuts. Like, he was good. He was so good. He was good at playing that.
I mean, I think
the
biggest part of his heel was obviously from the true life feud between him and Matt. I mean, I think everyone loved the Hardys as much as I did, and when obviously the whole situation with Lita happened, it just gave a natural turn for Edge to become this amazing heel.
Yeah, and he certainly owned it really, really well back then.
Oh, he did. All the sex scenes.
Yes, and with Vicky Guerrero too. Oh my goodness.
The Attitude Era was a very crazy time.
It does make you wonder what feuds and what stories Edge would have gotten into had he not become injured.
Oh, there could have been some amazing feuds and stories. I mean, the things with John Cena, CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been some great matches between them.
You could have thrown Triple H in there too. I mean, I don't know how, but I mean, there's so many guys that could have fought Edge up until now. And so, I mean, I think he has a 3-year contract now with WWE, I believe, and it's a part-time deal. So he's only going to be making a few appearances, and I think he has only a certain amount of matches that he's going to be getting in this run of his.
Well, that's quite good, because obviously, as much as he is healed and been cleared, he's never going to be fully healed.
Correct.
So it's good that they're helping not accentuate the injury.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, Edge is probably doing everything he possibly can to be safe too. So if Edge has faith in himself, then I'll have faith in himself. The Orton, though, last night, I had to laugh and again, shouting back to ups and downs because Simon was talking about Randy Orton being in a room and just all by himself. And I was watching it last night, and I was actually thinking kind of like that. I was like, look at Randy Orton. They're just showing him standing there in this ring, lurking. Is that what lurkers do? Is that how lurkers look? And then I made a joke to my partner at the time, and I was like, when you enter a massive chat room, and let's say there's 500 people in the chat room, and there's like 20 people active, are those other 480 people just standing around against the wall, not saying anything?
Just staring at their computer screen with some eerie lighting behind them.
Yeah. So it kind of cracked me up. But I know WWE has done that over the years and just have certain people looking kind of quote unquote badass backstage, like the red lady backstage.
They used to do it a lot with Mankind back in the day, and Undertaker, I remember.
Yes, and I think even Goldust had like his own cave at some point.
Yes, I remember that. And the bit with Goldust, and he had his red curtains all the time.
Yeah. Oh man, the stuff that they've done over the years. So continuing our build to WrestleMania, we have Edge and Orton, which sounds like a banger. Like, this match is going to knock it out of the park.
Oh, but if it's not main event, it's going to be the match of the night.
It could be. It very well could be. And then we have Drew McIntyre versus Lesnar. We have Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch, which is getting pretty interesting.
Well, as long as they keep booking Baszler as they did at the Elimination Chamber, I think it should go very well. But let's hope Vince doesn't sour on her.
Yeah, and I heard the rumors about that before Elimination Chamber. And it doesn't seem that way with what occurred in the Elimination Chamber with her taking out everybody.
No, but I could see maybe where they were coming from with the Kari Sane match wasn't that great. But obviously that's because, well, I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I'm not in the business, but from my perspective, it looks to me more like because on the main roster there is someone booking the match and putting the pieces together, whereas their matches in NXT were more free flow and they were allowed to come up with things themselves, which is probably what the big difference was.
It could be. From my point of view, I see that Triple H has pretty much molded two characters. Where 2 years ago we had Asuka, we had undefeated Asuka pretty much coming up from a 900 and some day streak, and then she lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania, and then Asuka kind of got buried throughout the year until the end of the year where she got the title. But we have the same situation now 2 years later where we have Shayna Baszler coming off hot from a very long streak or holding the title for a long time. Rhea Ripley defeated her, but she still has that aura of badass around her. And I'm really, really scared that they're going to take that away. However, I am torn on how the Women's Elimination Chamber went.
It depends on how you mean.
I'm torn because I don't fully agree with the way it happened with Shayna in the chamber, like taking out all six people. And the reason I say that is because if Shayna wants to be a badass and they want to promote her like that and she wants to take out everybody, fine. But it really felt, besides Asuka, that the other four were literally just fodder for her. And I was like, you have a chamber, and the fact that the men's chamber really cemented everybody. Like even like we talked about, the Lucha House Party showed amazing amazing technique in that chamber, and it was nice to see them again. And I felt like just once Shayna got loose, and then when it was silent in the ring after she took somebody out, and the audience started chanting boring because they were kind of ticked off that the match had kind of come to a sudden stop. And I got what they were trying to do, but at the same time, I kind of felt that boring feel, and it was nice seeing Asuka getting upset and frustrated, and I can't wait to get my hands on you. But I don't know. I felt something lost there. Does that make sense?
I can see where you're coming from. I mean, when the match did kind of just come to an abrupt stop while we were waiting for the timer,
Yeah.
obviously, I think the same as everyone else, I did get a bit bored and think, well, come on, hurry up. Can we not just skip the timer? They do it at the Rumble, change the time, whatever time they want the buzzer to come in. But I think for her taking out everyone else, I think it was the best thing to do. That's how you book stars. You need to make them dominant. And if she went 50-50 with someone like Natalia, if Natalia got a lot of offense in on her, who has been booked very poorly and has been shown to be a veteran who isn't really up to the game, then how would that make Shayna look? I think beating everyone in quite a quick succession was a good idea. Maybe she could have dragged the last one out and toyed with her opponent for a bit longer before Oscar came in.
Yeah, that's the part where I agree with you as well. Like the part where I totally understand where Shayna coming in, knocking everybody out, and being a badass that nobody can take Shayna. She just took out six people in the cage. Look out, she's someone to deal with. Like I understand that. I'm really lost on that Shayna thing. I guess it's, to me, when I was watching NXT, I was never the biggest Shayna fan because for the first part of her career, she just constantly needed help from people, and that's where it got lost on me
Right,
because
yeah.
she didn't need the help, and because she had her two friends with her back then in NXT, and she kept going around defeating everybody by cheating, and I was like, why are we having an MMA fighter like with this background? She doesn't need to cheat. She can literally take out anybody who she wants, and
Yeah, I did
that's
used to think the same as that when she was on NXT. She is a legitimate badass who could easily beat them. She did not need the help, and they should have booked her more like that.
yeah, exactly. And eventually they started to, like, about, I think 6 months or so afterwards, they kind of started to fade away from that, and she started winning on her own, which I was like, okay, all right, I enjoy this match more. I enjoy this match more because she's not getting help. She's not getting outside interference. And I know sometimes when you're a heel, you just have to get outside interference to make it, more heelish. I understand that. But the character and the help didn't make sense because I was like, this character does not need help. The help that's coming in here, she could probably take out as well. So I mean, I could see her now just like in a match and she's struggling and then help comes in and then she beats up the help and then she beats up the person who had her in a pin. I don't know. But like nobody needs to help her is what I'm saying. So near the end of her NXT run, I was starting to see where who she is, what kind of character she is, and I'm starting to enjoy it. And that's why I appreciate her not getting defeated in the Elimination Chamber and her beating everybody almost, because it does solidify her as a badass. But I do see that. I see it from both ends, I guess. And I'm really, really torn on who's going to win at Mania. Who do you want, Shayna or Becky?
I think Shayna needs to win it. I think Becky could win it, but I think her run has come a bit bland and boring now. Maybe going back to the chase could reignite the fire in Becky a bit more. I think the man gimmick has kind of started running its course. I don't know. Something for me with Becky just hasn't been clicking for the last few months. So for me personally, I think it would make a nice, refreshing change for Baszler to take it and continue to just choke people out and look like a total badass.
I can see that. I can see both stories ending up in a good place wherever they go. Like if Becky wins, I can see a good story coming out of that too. Because whoa, Becky just took out Shayna. Whoa, what happened? She took out Ronda last year. Now she took out Shayna. What's going on? But I do also see what you're saying.
I see that, but the problem is not everyone who watches the main roster is going to be watching NXT, so they're not going to have that same aura about Shayna just yet. Unless they keep pushing and booking her every week to just take out big stars. But otherwise, I don't see every fan seeing that same aura like, oh my God, Becky's just taking out Shayna.
That is true. I mean, it's up to WWE to really solidify that and make Shayna a big deal, and to have that aura around her. But yeah, I see what you mean. And we also find ourselves in that same situation that I mentioned before, where we have Asuka coming up from NXT, losing to Charlotte at Mania. So what if the same thing happens? Shayna comes up from NXT and loses to Becky, and then people were livid when Asuka lost a couple of years ago at Mania. And I could totally understand why people were upset too. But I also see, like, if Shayna wins, I see a major storyline coming from that as well. So this is where I am honest to God torn. But if Shayna wins, I'm all for it. And if Becky wins, I'm all for it. But I completely understand that the man character has grown a little stale. The other match that I'm really excited about on Mania as well is Charlotte and Rhea Ripley.
Yes, I'm very excited for this match. I mean, Shayna not winning the Rumble, I thought was a very bad idea until they booked this angle. Now it's made me realise that this is probably the better idea, and this match is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I was actually surprised on how everything turned out, because before the Rumble, I had heard rumors of Charlotte possibly winning the Rumble, and I totally voted for her. I figured she was going to win. I'm okay with her winning now because she didn't win the first one. Like, Alexa Bliss won the first one, Becky Lynch won the second one, so Charlotte now winning the third one's fine, whatever. But the rumors before the Rumble were that if she wins, she possibly could go to NXT. But nobody thought that was a real thing. They just thought, fantasy booking, whatever. And after it happened, after she won, I was like, I'm really behind that idea of her going to face Rhea Ripley. But I know it's not going to happen. And then it was announced, and I was like, whoa, okay. Now I'm really excited. Charlotte going down to NXT again, making NXT a little bit more interesting. Rhea Ripley definitely deserves this spot right now with how much of a fire she's on. So, I mean, who do you want to win, though, is the question.
Oh, I mean, that's difficult one because obviously Rhea beating Charlotte really cements her as a champion and obviously brings NXT up a bit more. But then Charlotte winning the NXT championship, I mean, how much does that do for NXT on a more global level?
Yeah, and
It's a difficult one.
it really is difficult, and I'm I can see both sides, but at the same time, I'm worried that they're going to give it to Charlotte because of the NXT ratings right now.
I mean, that's a big possibility. Obviously, they're trying to beat AEW, and with Charlotte jumping over to NXT, that could really boost the ratings. But then, obviously, a lot of people have soured on Charlotte over the last year or so.
Yeah, I will never ever discount her ability in the ring though. Like character wise, sometimes it's lacking, but her in ring ability, she can pretty much have a good match with anybody on that roster.
Oh, without a doubt, she's one of the most naturally gifted wrestlers we've seen in a long time. Um, but as you say, the character and all the pushes she's was given in the past have kind of made the WWE universe sour on her slightly. I mean, I personally still think she's brilliant, but she makes a much better heel.
Yeah, she does. I could never get behind her face character, but her heel character is definitely much better. And the fact that she's a 10-time champion right now, ahead of a lot of other people. Like I don't I understand her status and I understand that she's Ric Flair's daughter and everything like that, but at the same time, I don't want her to have like a bunch of title reigns ahead of everybody else. I kind of just want her to be in the flow, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
totally
be in the
get what
mix.
you mean by that. I mean, she's had her pushes, she's been up the top. Now it's time for her to just sort of float around near that title area.
To be honest, with a little bit of fantasy booking, do you know what I would want to happen?
What would you want to happen?
Maybe after Mania, they bring back King of the Ring, but instead of King of the Ring, it's Queen of the Ring, and then Charlotte wins it because she's the queen.
That would be a great idea. I mean, look what it's done for Baron Corbin.
Exactly. And the fact that we would have a women's tournament every single week on Raw, that would or SmackDown, whatever you want to do it on, or both. Um, that would really cement the women's division for a couple of months too.
It would definitely give the women's division a big push. I think that's an absolute brilliant idea. It's so easy to write WWE.
Well, I'm just surprised they haven't done it at this point. They've done a women's pretty much everything else now. Queen of the Ring is just sitting there.
Well, I suppose maybe they look at it as their Mae Young Classic is their version of Queen of the Ring.
That could
But
be.
doing it on the main roster would be a much better idea. Maybe even splitting it between all three rosters.
Yeah, we could have
Give
NXT
some
in
of
there
the
as
young
well.
NXT starlets a good push. I mean, look what Bianca Belair did at the Rumble.
Bianca Belair's involvement with the whole Rhea and Charlotte thing was great. I loved how she constantly made herself still look strong.
Oh, Bianca Belair is very underrated. I mean, she needs a bit of better push. I mean, I did hear rumors that maybe they were going to turn it into a three-way and add Bianca Belair into the match, which, as much as I think would be a good match, I don't think that's the right idea.
I don't either. I really do want it to stay between Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, but the fact that they've just made Bianca Belair just they didn't like job her out or make her seem like she was nothing. They kept her strong, which I like because a lot of times in bookings, other characters get kind of walked over and forgotten about.
Yeah, I mean, you see that all the time, and I completely agree with you. I'm glad that they still make Bianca Belair look strong.
Yeah, and speaking of people who they don't keep strong right now, and I am completely lost. And please, Kieran, for the love of God, please help me and hold my hand through this because I can't understand what's going on. And what I mean by that is, what the hell happened to Ricochet?
Oh, I, 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 I
You
have no
see,
words to explain what happened there. I just don't understand it. He's so great. I mean, they gave him that stupid superhero gimmick, which he's rolled with. I mean, Brock Lesnar normally works great with these smaller guys. They normally get a lot of offense in before he just absolutely annihilates them. But they still come out looking strong. I mean, one of the best Brock Lesnar matches I've seen in a while was the one he had with Finn Balor, when Finn Balor just came straight out of the gate and absolutely pummeled Brock and put him on the back foot for a while. I mean, they had it all there on the cards mapped out, and then on the Raw after, they job him out to Riddick Moss in a 24/7 championship match. Just why? I do not understand why.
This is why I need support. This is why I asked you to hold my hand, because I can't do it anymore. I just can't. Like I had to call my friend last week. No word to lie. I called him during Raw last week. And I said, I need a voice of reason right now. He goes, why? What's wrong? And I was like, oh, nothing's crazy wrong. But Ricochet just lost, got jobbed out to Riddick Moss. And he's like, who's that? And I was like, my point exactly. And I was like, 24-hour champion. And it was like, just a couple of days ago, he lost to Brock Lesnar, which, okay, that match could have gone either way. Jobbed out Ricochet or even give him a 5-minute odd offense, whatever. But he did that one drop kick. He got swatted down, and that was it. Ricochet was it. And I was like, they kind of built him up saying that, he might be the one that gets it, gets a good match from
superhero that could take out this monster.
And I don't understand this, because Ricochet was like, who did he piss off backstage? And that's what I have to ask, because he literally went from the top of the mountain facing Lesnar to on WWE main event, which isn't main event at all. It's some Saturday show that half the people don't even watch. It's for kids.
I mean, like, even though main event was still around, to be honest.
And then he wasn't even on Raw last night. So in 2 weeks, he goes from the world title picture to not even being on Raw and being jobbed out for the 24/7 champion. Like, and then, I mean, at least he beat Eric Rowan on the main event, but I don't know what happened here, and I want some context.
I don't think anyone knows what's happened there. I don't get it. He's amazing. He's one of the best superstars they have. He's so refreshing and different to all the other guys. And I just don't understand why Vince and the rest of the team can't see it.
It was another good example. Triple H, again, molded Ricochet a bit when he was down in NXT. Every time I watch NXT, this guy is a former North American champion. And every time I watched NXT with Ricochet, whether it had been on TV or a takeover, it was awesome. I freaking loved it. And I couldn't wait. Oh, actually, to be fair, I kept saying back then, I was like, I can't wait for him to come up to the main shows. But then the other part of me was, oh, I don't want him to come up to the main shows.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the biggest worry for everyone when they get moved across.
And apparently there's reports that he wants to go back to NXT as well.
I have heard that today. I was reading that earlier, actually. I think it could be a good idea.
I think it could be a good idea too.
It's exactly what his career needs right now, especially after these last couple of weeks.
And I really hate turning a podcast into, like, pick on WWE, pick at WWE, all that stuff. I really hate that. But when I see a situation and I see Ricochet, as amazing as he freaking is, get this type of treatment, and I'm stuck here wondering why. Like, if he seriously did something backstage and he's in Doghouse, then, I can't say anything about that. Then he got what he deserved, I guess, whatever the situation was. But if this was just booking for booking sense, I have no idea why, and why would you do that? Like, you have somebody who is amazing. Kids love Ricochet, and again, the whole superhero gimmick is getting along really, really well with them, and you just do this, and I'm stuck here going, why and why and why?
I've been racking my brain about this for years and years, and the only answer I can come up with is because it's WWE. That is the only answer to that question, because that is all they do. They have great talent, great stars, and they just ruin them.
Yeah. Like you shouting back to the Lucha House Party earlier. Like again, we got to see that a shooting star press from the top of the Elimination Chamber. Like what the hell? And then
If anyone out there has not seen that spot, go and watch that spot. It will be on YouTube somewhere. Go and find it. It is amazing.
yep, it is, and it's a GIF floating around Twitter. And again, stuff like that comes from the Lucha House Party. You don't job out talent like that. You just don't. Like I'm not a wrestling writer. I don't work for any promotions, and you know what? I could be completely 100% wrong. You give me the pen and paper for wrestling or Raw or anything like that, and I'll write my show. And you know what? It could get terrible ratings and be absolutely dreadful because I don't have a show. I haven't gotten that far. But what I see is amazing talent, amazing things in the ring, and then just getting treated like crap. And I'm like, this is not what you do. You take your wrestlers and you focus on their strengths. You build on their strengths. You hide their weaknesses and build their strengths. That's all you do.
That's exactly what you need to do.
And that's not how you do that.
The biggest problem that they have is they give them 2 weeks. And if Vince isn't impressed within the 2 weeks, then that's it. They're lost back into the shuffle forever. They need to give people more of a chance. Give them a story. Give them a feud. Give them a month, maybe even 2 months to iron out some of the flaws in their character and their weaknesses in the ring. But give people a chance.
Yep, that's all people ask for is a chance.
I mean, the reason half the wrestlers were so beloved back in the Attitude Era was because it was sink or swim. Go out there, do your thing. If you can make it work, then great, you have a chance. You'll be pushed to the moon. If the crowd don't react to you and they don't like what you're doing, then that's it, you're gone. They need that sort of fire back.
Yeah, and like remember when the signs were "Die Rocky Die" for The Rock back then?
Oh, I mean, everyone hated Rocky Maivia.
Yep. And then he became one of the hottest.
They still gave him a chance. They ironed it out. They tweaked his character. They put him in the nation, and then look.
And they gave him that little bit of attitude, and that's all he needed was just that little bit of heel attitude, that little twist. And I constantly hear that people go to WWE and they get stripped of who they are. And who was it? I was watching an interview the other day with Will Ospreay, I think it was, and I mean he's always respectful of however promo does their thing. But when people go out there and they're just speaking from a script, he can hear it so well. Like he can just tune it and it drives him nuts. And
that is another big problem. Scripted promos. I mean, give them bullet points. Say, right, these are the facts we want you to get through in your promo.
Right.
But apart from that, go out there, be your character, and say the promo how you would say it.
Right.
It feels more realistic. It resonates with the fans more.
Exactly. Like nobody is even if you give somebody a script, nobody is going to sit there and look at the script and read the script and go, some of these words I just wouldn't say. Well, read them anyway and make them yours. And I'm like, well, my character, it's not really in my vocabulary. Like for instance, I have a huge, chunk of words that I use in my vocabulary every single day. And if I said something that was kind of outside of that, my friends would look at me and going, you don't usually say that type of word, right? And they would feel that instantly because I'm not usually incorporating that into my vocabulary, or I said something different, or if I started walking around and saying big words all the time like Chris Jericho did 10 years ago. Like if I started just walking around saying words out of a dictionary, people would notice and they'd be like, okay, this isn't who you are. What's going on? Right? So the same thing happens when you're talking from a script. You can make whatever word Vince McMahon or the writer team or whatever they are, they can look at a wrestler and saying, you can make it yours as much as possible. But if the character doesn't seem like they're going to say that type of thing, like Roman Reigns and, what was it, Succotash or whatever he said back then?
Succotash. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Yeah, that's something Roman Reigns would never say.
I don't think that's something anyone would say outside of the Looney Tunes universe.
Exactly. And that's why it's like no matter how much you make a word your own, sometimes it just doesn't fit the character. We got about 10 minutes left in this conversation, but there's a couple of more WrestleMania matches I want your opinion on.
Okay.
How do you feel about John Cena versus The Fiend right now and everything that's happened between Roman Reigns, Goldberg, and The Fiend?
I mean, everything that happened between Goldberg and The Fiend, I think, was ridiculous personally. They should have let The Fiend continue his run. But Goldberg versus Reigns, I think, will be quite a good match. Spear versus Spear. Obviously, Roman will win. The Fiend versus Cena match, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Because obviously, we know it's John Cena. Is he going to be jobbed out to Wyatt? Is Wyatt going to beat him? If he does it really make a difference? Because John Cena will just go back off to Hollywood anyway. So I'm not really sure on that match, to be honest. I mean, if Cena was going to stick around and Wyatt was going to beat him using the mandible claw with the hurt glove and finally turn Cena heel, then maybe I'd be a bit more excited towards it. But obviously, we know that's never going to happen with the image he's trying to create for himself.
Yeah, this opinion and this feud has caused a lot of controversy throughout the wrestling universe. I was like, not just my opinion. Like when I say this opinion, I mean there's been so many different opinions on this topic. And when it happened at Super Showdown, I was on Twitter and I was going through all the tweets just to see how the internet was reacting. And the things that I saw, I won't repeat here.
Yeah, people were not very happy with the Super Showdown. I mean, not just the fact that Bray lost, the fact that he was absolutely squashed.
Kind of, yeah. Pretty much. I mean, he got up after a spear and stuff, but yeah, the jackhammer, that was bad jackhammer too. But the situation I see here is I'm against The Fiend losing to Goldberg at Super Showdown. It shouldn't have happened. And I know Vince did it because of ratings, because Goldberg got a pop on SmackDown. The ratings spiked a little bit when Goldberg showed up, and he automatically thought, oh, ratings go up. This will be good. That's what the rumors are. But the storyline does not make sense. And when you choose ratings over story and you already have something invested, just let it happen. Because, and I say that, whether it had been Roman Reigns versus The Fiend at WrestleMania, which was apparently written in, but then things were apparently changed, or whether it was John Cena versus The Fiend, both had a perfect story. It was a perfect storm, if you will. If The Fiend fought Roman Reigns, we could cater back to the long feud that him and Roman Reigns had with the Wyatt family. That was brilliant. There's so much there that could happen. That would be an awesome feud. Or you have John Cena coming back with, as we know, The Fiend versus John Cena. We had Bray Wyatt versus John Cena with a long feud before too, which was awesome. And either situation would work, because if Roman Reigns beat The Fiend at Mania, that would have been fine. People might not have liked it, but The Fiend lasted so long, and then Roman Reigns finally got that revenge or whatever, I don't know. And then John Cena beating The Fiend would also cement his 17th title, which would beat the record, which would make WrestleMania even more special. Throwing Goldberg in there makes zero sense. There was no feud with The Fiend or Bray Wyatt ever. Goldberg didn't even care about what the Fiend character was. He was just like, oh, yeah, you're not scary, blah, 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 blah. And he just made the Fiend look like crap. And it leaves Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. Again, the spear versus spear situation, it sounds cool. But I have zero interest in that match because of what happened. I'm still interested in John Cena versus The Fiend, even though there's no title involved. But this Roman Reigns Goldberg thing, I really couldn't care who wins.
I mean, haven't really built this match very well either, with Roman sort of just coming out and going, "Well, I'm next." You
Yeah.
know, well, okay, are you? Okay, cool. Nobody else wants a chance, right? You can have it then.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how you build to a match. There's no story. There's no reason to be feuding apart from obviously he wants the belt, which everyone wants the belt. But why can't anyone just come out and be like, well, no, why can't I have a chance as well?
Yep. And I'm
It just
surprised the Fiend
defeats
didn't
the
come out.
whole object of creating this kayfabe universe where people like each other, dislike each other, they fall out, they have these reasons to have this match. But for some reason, they just seem to like people coming out going, well, no, actually, can I have a go? And it just doesn't make it exciting. I
No, it
mean, the
doesn't.
match itself will be great, and obviously, great. Roman's going to get back to the top. Okay, cool. I think we're all okay with that now after everything he's been through. But surely, if they were going to make this big coronation for him, they could have made a bit more of a fuss building up towards the coronation to make it feel more special, make it feel more exciting.
What if Goldberg defeated Roman Reigns? How would you feel?
I love Goldberg. Obviously, I remember Goldberg come through the WCW days, coming up, annihilating everyone, being this absolute monster, and I love that they're still keeping that aura around him. But again, like Brock Lesnar, he's a part timer. He's not going to be there every week. He's not going to be defending the belt. He's not going to be involved in too many storylines. It just defeats the whole object of having a champion.
Yep. And that's what upsets me right now because we have two part timers as champions. And Brock Lesnar hasn't had a match on Raw in freak. I don't even know. I can't remember. At least probably a decade. And
He was even champion, to be honest.
yeah, and
That's how little he's around.
I mean, he's on Raw every week, or not almost every week now, but he's on Raw every bi-weekly, and he just stands there. But and it's nice to see the championship, but I need to have my champion be involved in the ring, and that includes
Yeah.
Goldberg. And if like I don't,
To make that run memorable.
yeah, like even if they had Goldberg just do one spear. And somehow they came up with a thing where he'd be in a tag team match at the end of SmackDown because that's what SmackDown does, tag team matches. But at the end of the night, somehow they put Roman Reigns and Goldberg in a tag team, and they put two other people that were having problems with them in the ring. I don't know. And Goldberg did nothing pretty much for the whole match except for one spear at the end. I'd even be okay with that. Just the fact that he was involved on SmackDown, that they made it interesting because Lesnar, I can't have two part timers having both world titles and not wrestling on the show. I can't deal with that.
It defeats the whole object of having these belts and making them prestigious.
Yeah, and even if they were part timers too, that's not the problem I have. It's that if Goldberg wants to be a part timer, fine, but at least show up on SmackDown once a month and wrestle. Same with Lesnar. I don't even care. Like, just if Lesnar wants to come and dominate somebody 5 seconds, come in the ring and just keep showing how dominant he is every single week. Cool. 5 second match. I don't care. But at least once a month, have your champion on, on SmackDown or on Raw, on TV, showcasing what he can do.
Well, obviously, that's exactly what they need to do. About not having the belts on the show for weeks at a time, or even having them just there. And as you say, Brock Lesnar just standing there while Paul Heyman gives his spiel. It just doesn't make it memorable, and it defeats the whole point of having these championships and making them prestigious. I mean, look at the Miz with the Intercontinental Championship. Even if he wasn't wrestling in matches, he was stood there holding it aloft. He was talking about it. He was out there making it this great championship. And it made you truly believe that it was this most prestigious championship on the roster.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Miz did. He boasts about that a lot, but he's certainly not wrong. He made that IC title important.
He did, and that's what we don't have with championships too much these days.
Yeah, and I don't understand why, but I mean, that's a question I'll leave with the audience at the end of this podcast, because with that, we will wrap things up. Is there any social media you'd like to put out, Kieran?
No, no, I'm not on any social media.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast again.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. It's
For
been
sure.
great chatting with you.
Absolutely. I love hearing your opinions too. And last time you were on, we spoke about Full Gear and AEW, and we didn't get too much AEW talk this time, but perhaps next time.
Yeah, well, I think there'll be a lot more to talk about with AEW in the coming future with the whole Dark Order stuff.
Do you think Matt Hardy's going to be the Exalted One?
Personally, I hope not. I think he'll be better off doing his whole broken gimmick on his own without incorporating the Dark Order. But if he does, I think he'll be great at it either way.
Yeah, I'm either whatever happens, I know that I'm excited, and the build towards this has been phenomenal. Like they've had it on Being the Elite, they've had it on AEW Dark, they've had it on Dynamite. It's all the little hints on, or even on Matt Hardy's Free the Delete series. Like we've had 4 different shows that this has been going across, which is crazy for booking a wrestling show.
It is crazy, but that's how they need to do things these days. This is how you build excitement towards these angles.
Yeah, and they're doing it with spades. Well, thank you once again for coming on, and thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM or a DM on any of my social media. You can find me at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us up on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. With that, this has been LMP Wrestling, and we're signing off.